There we go.
There we go. All right, we are rolling, and I'll note it's 10:33 here, and I'll probably run about 10, maybe 15, maybe. And then as a final question, I'll wrap it and give you an opportunity to say, thanks for coming, Jacob. Any final thoughts or anything you'd like to add as we wrap? And if maybe you could just use that as an opportunity to say something like, I'd love to work with actors like this or whatever. And are you on Instagram or anything like that?
Yeah, I have a couple accounts. I also, yeah, it's
If
a
you want,
lot.
if you wanted to plug anything like that, that's a great place to do it, or
Right.
just encourage them to reach out through Spotlight Academy, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And I'll probably put something up at the end there where they can find you or whatever. So
Right.
great.
That's good.
All right, here we go. Hello and welcome to the Spotlight Academy Insight series, where we connect you with the faculty there at Spotlight, and we give you a closer look at how they coach and how they approach the work they do with actors across the island and across Vancouver. And more importantly, you'll get a chance to talk to these coaches and hear from them and find out what they can do for you in your career as an aspiring actor. Now, I'm Christopher Bennett. I'm a longtime friend of the Spotlight Academy, and today I'm sitting down with Jacob Insley. Jacob has been a long-time working actor and someone that was actually born and raised in Victoria, BC, performing since he was 12 years old. I hope I'm not dating you on that when I say that, Jacob.
Yeah.
After high school, he moved to Toronto, Ontario. He did musical theater at Randolph Academy for the Performing Arts. After that program, he got into the trenches. He's done great work at Second City in Toronto. He's worked at multiple venues, including the Comedy Bar and Bad Dog Theater. And his own pursuit of comedy took flight. He's even appeared in some incredible productions, including Cheaper by the Dozen. It's one of my favorites, actually. I think that's really cool that you were in that movie. Now, after 6 years in Toronto, the call up west beckoned him back home, and he came back to Victoria. And after doing some different work there, he'd been in 3 independent features. He'd actually worked one at Hollywood film called Jat and Juliet, two independent features for a Chinese producer named Only Mr. X. Yeah. So Jacob's definitely been around and understands the business from all points of view, and is someone who could bring a lot of experience and help you as you figure it out. Now, he's done a lot of work after 2 years in Vancouver. One of his old writing partners from Toronto had an opportunity to write a comedy series for the Discovery Channel. So he moved back to pursue that. Didn't quite pan out, but he decided he wanted to get back into teaching and coaching and working with actors, and not just his own career, but helping develop other careers as well. Now, on the acting side, he still continues to be in heavy work. He's done 3 Hallmark movies during the COVID period. And when he's not doing that, he's spending all his time working really closely with the team at Spotlight Academy. He is represented by Lucas Talent. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Jacob Insley. How you doing?
Good. Thank you so much. What a robust introduction.
Do you feel like, at this point in your career, do you feel like an actor? Do you feel like a coach, a teacher? Where do the lines blur for you because you're so immersed in the industry on so many levels?
Yeah, that's a great question. I find myself constantly spreading quite thin in all these things. Not to an exhaustive state, but it's very interesting, especially when I'm a teacher, to kind of be training them to focus on one thing only at a time and pursue with all their heart. And then I'm not really exactly doing that because I like dabbling in a bunch of things, especially in any creative field. Teaching, I never expected to be a teacher. But when I moved back here during COVID and I took some classes with Spotlight first, I then had some debriefs with Jackie, and she looked me up and kind of went through my history and asked me to teach for her. So it's kind of all fallen in like this. I like doing everything. It makes me a little bit crazy sometimes, but I definitely enjoy it.
Jackie's got such a great eye for talent, and of course she really understands what it takes to be successful on the educational side as a coach, as a teacher and instructor. Let's get a bit cerebral here. I'm always curious to know, when I talk to people who worked in the industry, like at your level, do you think actors are born or are they made? Where do you sit on that fence?
Oh, definitely made. I think there might be like some intrinsic talent that exists in people, but it's definitely. I mean, the way I approach it, and I'm not the master of all things performing and acting, but the way that I like to coach, and I believe for myself, is that you just there's a practice to it,
Yeah.
and it's like the recipe for recipes. I love this. I read a lot of Seth Godin, and this is from his book. Uh, oh shoot, I forget the name. The Practice. It is a
Yeah, he's
practice.
brilliant. He's brilliant.
Yeah, and he says the recipe for recipe is good ingredients, heat, and serve. Right? That's the recipe for all recipes. I mean, for sure, there's some cold borscht or whatever other soups like that, but it's generally for like acting. You just practice these tools and skills, and you can grow them. And as long as you focus on it and are passionate about it and have the right attitude, then you can. That's why I don't entirely believe that it's born. It could be born in some people, but I think it's
Sure.
definitely a practice.
Do you approach it like when you're working with your classes or with individual actors privately, maybe like a trainer in the sense that it's the acting muscle that has to get used over and over and over, or are you a little more cerebral in terms of the content or the curriculum that needs to be memorized and then rehearsed? Is it one or the other? Is it a bit of both? How do you approach it, Jacob?
I definitely work with a little bit of all perspectives. One of the, I think my opening kind of speech when I start a new round of classes, especially right now with Spotlight specifically, I'm doing the foundational class for adults. And that ranges from kids at 16 years old all the way up to, I think I've had a 70-year-old in my class. And,
Wow.
uh, and oh man, I forgot the question. Hold on.
What's your
Oh, the
approach?
approach. Yeah, the
Yeah, yeah.
approach is so basically at the beginning, the first and foremost, I'm like, hey guys, I'm going to teach you everything that has worked for me and all the tools that I've added to my tool belt metaphorically. And I encourage you to take what works for you and leave what doesn't work for you and train with every single teacher you could possibly train with. Because what we want to do is we want to create our own version of all the tools that we have to pursue this career because there's new ideas coming out every day too. I mean, sure you can go back to Stanislavski or method acting or all of that stuff, and I'm sure someone could get a great fundamental education in acting from that and grow like that. But I think just like the world evolves, things change. The way audience perceive things, audience is way smarter now. So really having like a wide variety of tools to pull from, I think is super effective. So we attack the emotional, we attack the technical, I attack literally understanding like self in a way of like how I'm measured. So like body language and status is one of my lectures before I usually do my classes is like 15, 20 minutes, sometimes an hour of like kind of lecture, call, question answer period. And then we get into some practical work, whether it be working on like the guidepost from Michael Shirtliff or focusing on single intention, goals, outcome,
Mhm.
object, whatever. Um, and yeah, sorry, did I answer that?
You
I guess
did. I
talk
think
too
that's
much.
really great. And,
Okay.
I had a chance to talk to some of the actors who have been in your class and have worked with you over the last few months and years. And, they say things like, he's taught me to develop and trust my instincts. He brings out emotions I didn't know I had access to. There's so much high praise from actors who have worked with you. And I notice some of them are seasoned veterans and some of them are, brand new to the craft. Do you have a preference or a particular type of actor you like to work with the most, or is it across the gamut for you?
First of all, that's so sweet. I guess thank you for telling me that, but also thank them for appreciating that. That's awesome. Um, I think it doesn't really matter to me. I really appreciate. I'm a big believer of this guy Earl Nightingale. He's like an old school, like 1940s or 50s. At least that's what his voice sounds like. Kind of mindset coach back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things he does is all about attitude, and that resonates a lot with me. If you approach anything with the right attitude, um, you can be an unstoppable force. And I think that with beginning actors or people who are veterans, if they just have the right attitude coming in, because I've worked with people with no grounding whatsoever, and people who have been all the way in feature films. And I think no matter what, the one thing I see is you're going to see more success if you have a good attitude towards it, and that's all our control generally.
Is there anything that an actor about to embark on a class or a session with you should come in with in terms of mindset? You talked about a success mindset, a positivity. What else can an actor do to best prepare and to be ready to take the kinds of training and coaching that you're going to provide them?
um, I don't really have a preference. If you show up in the class, that's it. I mean, one step at a time. We can't get up the friggin' metaphorical ladder by just getting to the top, right? You got to take one rung at a time. And showing up day one is just step one. Because I also, in that opening speech about taking what I have, learning with other coaches and teachers and stuff, is that I tell them that after this 8 week session or after first week session, first of all, email me with any questions, comments, and concerns. If I've offended you, if anything's gone wrong, if you want to see more or less of anything. No one really ever emails me after, even though I'm keen to get some feedback. Sometimes I do, which is fantastic. But the other thing is that if you discover that this isn't for you, then there's no shame in that. I'm really glad you tried, and we can move forward. So coming in with no real expectation is absolutely fine as well. Because really, what we're trying to do is inspire new performers to love a craft that I love so very much, and I'm sure
Yeah.
you do as well.
Yeah, and I've been around lots of actors over the years, as you have, and I noticed for as many have the confidence and they have the ability to project and create these incredible performances on screen or on stage, there's just as many who really suffer from lack of confidence or an uncertainty in their skills. Talk to me about how you broach that with your individual actors. What do you encounter a lot of actors who are still not confident enough in their performance? Does an actor ever really feel like one day after they've had time with you or an extended period of classes that they're ready and they can do it? How do you get around the confidence hurdles?
Yeah, that's huge. Definitely. I think that comes back to awareness of self, I think, and self growth.
Mhm.
And I like to find or help them find clarity in as much as we can in 8 weeks in a 2.5 hour session per week in all fields of this. So confidence, I think, from what I've learned, and I'm still learning too, right? This changes all the time. I have a set class. Uh, what's that called? When you make a schedule for your class, there's a smarter word for it though.
Uh, a,
Curriculum.
a
Sure.
curriculum, yeah, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, I have a set curriculum that I've worked from, but I've never actually used it verbatim because I always cater it differently for the students that are in the class on that smaller level, and then on an even more individual level, case by case scenario based on each person's where they are. So, like class one, I get them to slate, talk a little bit about themselves, favorite movie, TV show, because I try to understand both how they speak publicly, how comfortable they are talking in front of a group, slating if they can look to the camera and kind of be themselves as much as I know them in the first 30 minutes of understanding, and so on and so forth, a few things like that. So I can gauge personally, and then I write in my trusty notebook just little thoughts on stuff that I should look at with them specifically as I move through the course. And then when they get a chance to start presenting materials, I can kind of dig in, change kind of, yeah, change my approach based on
Mhm.
how they're going back and forth. So I've had 3 or 4 students now at the beginning of course as well. I ask, what do you want out of it? And lots of them say confidence in front of the camera. That's a big thing. My heartbeat still sometimes like a little bit crazy as soon as that record sign goes on, right? I love that. I
Yeah,
feed
yeah,
off
yeah.
of that. But when you're beginning, that adrenaline rush that is interpreted as fear, right? We've all been there. I remember back when I was on stage back in the day, I'd have like that that like nervous pee in my heart thing just before I got to go on stage. And after the first couple shows that I did and performances, I was like addicted to that. I love that feeling. Yeah, I'm getting it right now. I can feel it down my spine even as I'm talking about it and
Yeah,
reliving, right?
you light up when you talk about it, and you're clearly really passionate about it. Do the students that you work with, is there a point where you ever have to deliver the difficult news about a performance that's not going their way? Do you approach everything with it's possible, or you've got it wrong, you've got to try it this way? Talk to me about the hard part of what you do and what they can expect.
Yeah, especially this, let's call it semester, where we just finished week 3. But a few of the students on just our little exercises in front of camera have been afterwards that, first of all, looking at me as soon as the scene's over is one thing. I'm always like, don't look at me, finish your scene, like stay eye contact on your reader or whatever, however you have your class set up. But most of all, was it good or bad? And I keep reiterating, and I will keep reiterating till the day I die, that there is no good or bad in this. Again, I go back to, it's just the practice. It's just getting clearer and clearer on um, your preparedness for the scene and character development, all of that. And the more clear you are, it's still, there's no good or bad. It's just, it's a practice. We're moving forward.
Right
So
on.
if there's like something that's terribly gone wrong or they weren't listening or whatever, we'll just take a moment, we'll take a beat. I might slip them off of the camera so the rest of the class isn't seeing, and we'll just talk. I usually lower my voice because I am measured and understand myself. So I'll probably come in more of an intimate thing and I'll be like, hey, um, you're doing really good. I'm not lying, first of all. This is true, right? You're doing
Yeah, yeah.
really good. I really appreciate you you trying this. Let's just go back to that moment before, or that intention that we did. Or remember when we were talking about subtext? Just focus on that one fight you had with your brother years ago, or whatever's working for them, depending on if we're pulling from emotional, muscle memory, technical, whatever aspects we're doing to use to fire up that scene. And we just take it and make it personal. And like, I let them breathe for a minute. Breathing's huge, and then come back to it. So there's not really a good or bad. I
Yeah.
don't think that's helpful for anyone. Personally, again, I'm not, I don't know. I'm
No,
still
I
learning
think, I
myself.
mean, the proof is in all the great feedback, and you work with so many great actors that want to be better and want to be great, and it's really cool. It must be really gratifying for you as a coach to work with actors, good actors, see them become great, and see them find that success on stage or on film, or as they burst onto the scene and across the industry, right?
It's pretty wild from beginning to end too. There's been a few students in our 8 week sessions that just crazy strides, like inspiring for me to see. I do like an emotional groundwork thing at the beginning of class 1 or 2, where we just kind of close our eyes and focus on an emotion, a sad or happy memory or whatever, within control. And they have all the power. They're allowed to get out of it whenever they want. Keep breathing. I coach them through a little exercise, and to find either the smell, the person, the touch, the feel, the sound that reminds them of that emotion.
Yeah.
Right. That's like one of the first things. And then we come out of it, we breathe, we talk about it. I like everyone talking about everything they've gone through so they can understand self and how they're perceived and how they feel, and that distinction. Um, and then there was one gentleman a few courses ago that during the sad session, which sometimes triggers people, understandably, I try to keep it safe and I make sure it's all in their control and their power. Um, of like 45, 50-year-old tradesman, like just wanted to try acting for the first time, was completely out of touch with, especially with older males in my experience,
Yeah.
have a little bit harder time to evoke any emotion whatsoever. It's always been, and the older they are, because of the
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Of
cultural
course.
way it was, it's
Of
just
course.
tougher and tougher. And he broke down class 2 and
Wow.
like release. I mean, I'm not a psychiatrist either. I'm not going for this either, but he broke
Whatever.
down and then came back to us, breathed, got through it. And it was like this like change, a complete change in this guy's
Wow.
personality. Loved it. And then the work
Wow.
he produced for the rest of the class was like amazing, coming from a gentleman who, when slating, would go,
Those are the
Jacob Insley, I'm 6'3" and I'm from Victoria, to like the coolest guy ever. It was very.
that's an incredible story, and I think it's a testament to the kinds of emotions you help actors learn to access to be successful. I want to thank Jacob for coming on and talking to us a little bit. As I say every time, I'm such a fan of what you're doing at Spotlight, and I've sent many actors that I represent or that I'm working with over to you guys. No matter where you are in BC, no matter where you are in Canada, this is one of the top very best institutions for learning the craft of acting. And I encourage you to reach out and connect with Jacob and the rest of the incredible faculty there at Spotlight. Jacob, any final thoughts or any messages out to the aspiring actors who might be thinking of working with you in Spotlight before we wrap?
um geez, I'm not gonna lie, Chris even prepped me on this, but I still can't really think of anything.
Well,
It'd be lovely to have anyone come in and try it out. whether you're just looking to pursue it as a career or you just want to test the waters. Or I find as well, if you just want to get more comfortable with public speaking and kind of living in your own skin, I really try to find ways to kind of self-identify and grow. I think that feels nice.
Thanks for joining us, Jacob, and thanks to all of you. And we hope that you'll spend some time with Jacob and the rest of the team at Spotlight real soon. We'll talk to you another time. Okay, take care. Thanks, Jacob.
Appreciate it, Chris. Thank you.